Hi there, thanks for joining me today. I hope you'll stick around with me today and paint these mixed florals in a teacup. Today I'm using my size 10 round by Ting, my size 6 round Intuition brush by Artegria. I have my Sonnet and SeamiArt watercolors and my watercolor palette ready, a jar of water, a cloth for dabbing any mistakes or puddles. And lastly, I'm painting on my 300 GSM watercolor paper by B Paper Company. Let's get started. So I want to start today with a little teacup, and then I'm just planning to do some assorted florals in that. And you know, I like kind of a largish teacup, and so I'm starting with this is actually a super light wash of coal black. No, it's lamp black, excuse me. I want to quickly go in with just more water and bring this outline down this side. So I've gone down the left side with my pigment, and then I just went down the right side with my water. And I'm doing that to have a bit more blending here. I kind of, I want the idea of a kind of a white teacup. And so I'm gonna blend this a bit more, and then what I'm gonna do is just dab that a bit with my cloth. I like to have a little kind of a pedestal. Oh, my pronunciation today, I don't know. Just a little pedestal. And you know, this cup is not perfect, and that's okay. We're okay not being perfectionist about everything. Okay, and then a little handle. I like these handles to have a bit of a little swirly, like an S shape, a reverse S shape, I suppose. And I have a bit of pigment left on my brush, so I'm just brushing down this side and kind of under here. I'm dragging some of that pigment back up to the top to just have a natural shadow up there. And then I'd like to have a little less of this line here, so hopefully I can just kind of blend that out with a little bit of water. But these are the things not so much to worry about. Okay, that is not a perfect teacup shape, and it's okay. Just trust me. Okay, I want to do just some various florals, just assorted, and I'm really not sure. I'm just gonna see what I feel like as I go. So I think I want to start with a sunflower. I think I'm going to pull some of my pigment down here. Okay. All right, what if we have a nice big sunflower here? Just to do these petals, I just start with my tip, press down and let my brush kind of press down there, and then I kind of taper off. So see, it just kind of presses down, tapers off. Then I want this to kind of be foreshortened up here so that it looks a little dimensional. It doesn't look just flat, and it's kind of tilting to the side and kind of away, kind of upward. Some of those little slashy marks. Maybe dab a little pigment in there. Okay, love it. And that's just a start. I'll let that dry. And then I want to use my Madder Lake, my Madder Red. I have these two colors right here together. This is Violet Red from another palette. And so sometimes I get a little intermingling, and that's okay, isn't it? Because, yeah, it's not going to hurt anything. I think I'd like this peony right down here, almost just to the left of center. Okay, I'm gonna do those little swooshy little strokes. Okay, and then I like to come back and just soften that a bit just by touching that with some water. I like to drag off my excess water. And I kind of want this a bit bigger, I think. Nice. Cute, cute. And we'll see. I may have flooded some of those petals a bit, and they may need a little bit more attention and maybe some more pigment dropped in there, but for now I think it's fine. And I may go ahead and drop a little pigment in there now, just here and there. Cute, that works. And then I can kind of direct this little spot up here that kind of wants to just go in a line. I'm just going to push at that. Cute. Okay, I want to take a little bit of raw sienna, and I want to layer a little bit onto the sunflower. I just like to do multiple things on these, sometimes just a petal stroke and then a little slashy stroke. I like to overlap some. I like to go behind and between these petals. Just stuff to give some dimension and some interest. Sunflowers are so fun. So fun. They just really come to life when you do the black or dark centers. Okay, I'm loving these. Now what if we do some little white flowers up here? And I ordinarily would use this Payne's Gray, and I think I can. I think I'll just see if I can clean this off a little. I like to use a very light wash of the Payne's Gray. This Payne's Gray has a touch of blue in it, which I probably should have cleaned my lamp black a little more off of that, because sometimes it can kind of react with that, and it's kind of funny. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make these little centers. These are going to be like daisies or something. These are going to be like daisies or something like that. And I've kind of made them into too much of a uniform pattern there, but I think it'll really be fine. I'm going to switch my brush. You guys know I typically don't do that, but I'm switching to a size 6 round. And I've rinsed my bristles, I've wet them, and then I've dragged off the extra water, and now I'm just touching these petal shapes, really kind of drawing a petal shape into that pigment. Some of this in that process got a bit dry, but because these petals are so wet, I should be able to put some more pigment in here. And maybe a couple more, just kind of up here, kind of up there. What if we have one a little out here? Be a little more random, and maybe out here. I'll have some room for some leaves down here. Just trying to go with the flow with this and kind of feel it as I go. It can be kind of a challenge, but I like to do that. I don't mind drawing something out beforehand, but I just tend to not do that much. Sometimes I have an idea in my head, and sometimes, like today, I know I want to do some flowers, and in a teacup maybe, but then not really anything more than that. So I hope you can see that. It's gotten a little dark. Okay. We'll be in a little bit of trouble if the sun comes out. It is just cloudy and rainy here today. Okay, I'm gonna put some of these little petals back in here. I did really kind of wash those out. And this is great because it's just gonna give more texture to this. More layers. Very cute. And then because I really did overlap these almost a little too perfectly, I'm just taking some water and brushing up into those, just some of the petal here and there, to just kind of create really another layer and also loosen those up so that they're not just so perfectly overlapped. Okay, I'm liking it. What if we do one of the peonies kind of laying over this direction, kind of coming out of the teapot a little bit? I might like to get some leaves in there real quick before I do that. So let's take some olive green. And get some leaves in here. So I've taken some fresh pigment, but I'm also activating what I have on my palette here. And then I want to keep this real loose. And I'm still using this size 6 because I think especially for these little white flowers, it's going to be a little more appropriate. And then I just want to stay so loose and just kind of drag these leaves out of here. Okay, little leaves peeking out kind of here and there. And then how about some leaves that have a little more shape to them, some kind of jaggedy, scallopy edges for these peonies, or this peony, I guess. Kind of varying up those sizes a little bit so that, you know, you have a little one peeking out here and there. I like to drag that pigment back up toward the flower too. And how about some nice big leaves for this sunflower? There will be more, so I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Nice. Drag that back up there. Sunflower leaves are great because they're just kind of they want to be messy, I think. And I am to some degree trying to fill this area here. I will probably darken the sunflower leaves at least somewhat, whether it's just some kind of detail stuff, you know, kind of make those messy, just to kind of give them a little more character that differentiates them from the peony leaves. That's working well. And I may even just kind of, because this got a little, I don't know, a little too many just leaves, just like that, a little too predictable maybe. I'm just kind of wetting that and then letting that blend and bleed out. And you never know, that could be a mistake, that could be brilliant. Who knows? And I'd like to take a different green just to kind of incorporate on this peony leaf. This is just a tree green. Oh, I like those together. Maybe add a little bit of that in here. My brush got a little out of control on in my hand there. That's okay. I'm gonna leave that. Just kind of making these little brush marks. Have my hand kind of loose. See if I can soak a little bit of this out. And then I'm just kind of blend up toward these white flowers. Okay. And I think I'm going to go in and just kind of touch these flowers again with water, and then I want to add a little bit of the Payne's Gray just in the centers. Let them kind of lead into those petals, because I feel like there's not quite enough to distinguish them. They're a little hard to see, and I did start painting kind of late on a cloudy day. I like to paint with the natural light, because I just feel like it looks nicer on camera and the photos. So that's what I do. Yeah, that's working for me. I like them. And I like these greens here. That's actually something that was just an idea at the time, and it worked out. So I'm glad I did. I don't want to blend it too much. And I wasn't intending to blend it at all, but I wanted a little more of this green to show here. So that's why. Okay, fine. And maybe let's do that peony I was talking about. Maybe over here. These are the front petals, the ones that are closest to us. And those are the back petals. Okay, we'll just see how that goes. That one was not my best one. I was so happy with the peonies I painted yesterday, and then today again I'm finding them challenging. I'm not sure why. I noticed that I didn't start them in my usual manner as well, so yes, I think that probably plays a part. I'm gonna kind of brush this down. This is looking a bit rosy to me, so I made some adjustments there, kind of thickened those, and I'll come back and work on that a bit. Just kind of soften some of that up. Okay, I like that fine. For now. Let's get a few leaves over here. I'm loving this. See, just sit down and paint stuff, and paint what comes into your head and into your heart, and just have fun with it. Just explore. Let's see. Okay. Let's grab some of this tree green again. Who knew? And all the artists out there saying, we did. We've been trying to tell you. You guys were not loud enough. If you were trying to tell me, you didn't hear, but I will try to listen. And just kind of getting some stuff that's kind of floating around back here. Just to kind of fill that in. Oh, that works really nicely as a drop-in color. That is entirely a puddle, but you know what? I think I'm going to leave that. That right there, yeah, I'm not going to worry about it. Certainly not for now. Initially, I thought, Lord have mercy, there was so much liquid in that. But right now I'm feeling it, so. Okay, love these. Very sweet. Maybe a sunflower kind of peeking out back here. Just kind of finesse that a little. And I think I'll make a little of it visible here. How about some of those slashy marks? I'm not in love with how close together I have those, but you know, sometimes the sunflower is really packed together. The leaves are, so, or the petals. So I'm not going to worry. Certainly not. And these little white flowers, just a little bit of definition here and there. Just some petals kind of outlined a bit. Not necessarily my most go-to style, and you know, I don't want to overdo it, but I do feel like they just need something. They're just a little, I mean, I love them and I love the softness, but was not loving how they just seemed to disappear. So I'm trying to soften where some of the pigment was very dark. I'm not going to worry about it too much. I'm going to think of it a bit as shadows beneath those petals some, just to kind of blot some of that off. And just change it up here and there, so they're not exactly the same. Maybe make some down here. Okay, I think we can go ahead and add some black. You can do this with black or a very dark brown. I like the black. I'm just going to dot in a center here on this sunflower. Notice how I'm closer to the bottom of the sunflower than the top, which also helps to accentuate that look of not just looking straight on at it, but that it's somewhat sideways. And not doing this perfectly at all. I don't want it perfect. I'm not trying for perfection. just kind of an oval. Cute. I think it's all together working. Take a little of this yellow deep and just whoop, whoop, inside these. And I try to do this as kind of a sideways motion in some direction or other, rather than simply I don't know what I'm trying to say, having them all the same direction. And okay, and I did put a couple of extra in there, just thinking there could be flowers just kind of peeking out, which I like that idea. Just kind of brush in a few more petals. So just some daisy-ish kind of things, kind of all packed together in there. Had a little bit of a bleed here, and so I've just rinsed my brush, blotted it. I'm trying to push that back a little. Not going to worry, I will probably put a leaf around there anyway. Okay, fun. And I'm pretty happy with this peony here. I think I will make these petals a bit more defined, a little more pigment in there. We'll do that. And then I can go back and soften a bit, even with these. Okay, we'll just see what happens with that. Let's get some of the black in the center of this sunflower, just kind of peeking behind those leaves. Now I will need to remember to go back and add a little bit of just another layer of petals and whatnot. Okay, what if we do a couple more of these little whitish flowers? Gosh, maybe just one, maybe one more right here. Okay. I may put a little more pigment into that one right there. That was maybe a little more than I wanted, but I'm going to see, just pushing it around. And then maybe blotting that just a little. Maybe a little too much. It's hard to blot just the right amount, but I think that that was pretty good. A little more pigment again, just took a little more than I wanted. Okay, and then I'm gonna brush that with a little water and just see what happens. Okay, I like it. And then I think I'd like some leaves coming out of here for this sunflower. Those are good. And then a little more pigment, just kind of keeping it very random. Just adding some things just kind of peeking out behind here. Maybe even a little bit over this teacup again. All right, love that. How about one of those little, yeah, those little viney things. Yes, I believe so. Okay, let's layer in some of this raw sienna. Just a little, get some little layers of petals going over here, and a little bit of differentiation between the petals that were a little bit smooshed together. That works for me. That's exactly nice. A little yellow inside of these flowers here. Let's see. I don't want that dark, so just a little blot, and then I can kind of go back over it with a little bit of pigment. Okay, kind of corrected that goof there where I had a little bit of yellow that bled, and I think I'm happy with it. So funny how you can spend time fussing over little things that really probably don't need that fussing. I feel like I'm doing that right now. Okay, I'd like to add a little bit of yellow into my peonies so that I don't forget, mostly. Just some little slashes, and This is that yellow deep. Like to have another sunflower in here, but I'm also kind of happy with this, and I have such a tendency to really round my arrangement, especially in a teacup, and I'm trying so hard to avoid that. Probably just some classic overthinking. Put in this shadow and see if I can kind of come up with something. Kind of some yellow in that, I feel. My rinse water is a little opaque. Just want a little table line or something back there, kind of to make it so that my arrangement is not floating. I just think I needed a little more shadow there. Want to kind of give that some water, loosen it up, let it bleed a little bit. Okay, probably more than was needed, especially right there, but I think I'm just gonna kind of blend that, dab it and see. Okay. You know what I think I'm gonna do, and I just hope I don't regret it, but I'm going to blend some of my green, and I have this just a little residue of Hooker's green here. I'm just gonna blend that with my olive, and I'm gonna put in some multi-leaf stems. Truth be told, I'd like a little brown in this, I think, but this is so green and vibrant, so I'm tempted to blend it with a little of this tree green too. Yeah, okay. So I'm thinking I want them to kind of come out here, but I want to have some that kind of come this way. And just, yeah, so random. And then I'll leave these and then come back and see what else. Kind of wish I'd kept that one behind this sunflower leaf, so I think I'm gonna rinse that and see if I can just kind of erase that away a little bit. And it seems to work. Okay. And you know, I'm reminding myself along the way with these that leaves do not have to look the same, especially since they so often will be, you know, turned a different direction, you know, kind of laying over a different direction, and so I try not to worry too much about them. Try to keep it relaxed. That one was a little out of control, just too big, but we are not going to worry about that. I'll make these maybe a little more generous over here. See, that worked out. That was totally fine. I started to not panic, but I started to worry. I don't know. And I do like to overlap these, and so as they overlap, I like to be sure I have a darker value of color. That way you can see the dimension as they overlap. I didn't love that I had these two stems right beside each other that were kind of going the same direction. So I kind of angled that one away a little bit. Just get some of these in there, just messy and fun and relaxed. Okay, and then just doing a bit of fill down here at the base of these, just so that it's not just white in there. And then just overlapping some brush marks for leaves out here. I like these. Okay, what if I do the hint of one down here? Just, it's in the back, and it's just some hint. I like that. Okay, I'd like to add a little bit of water just to kind of let this bleed a little bit, just to soften it. not going to define this stuff at all. This is just a sunflower somehow peeking through here. Okay, and then I just think we need some leaves over here. I think that works for me. Because you would have that in an arrangement. You would have these leaves just kind of busting out, overlapping, and that would make sense. So. Okay, I love this. This has been kind of a quiet painting for me today. Just kind of brushing in these little bits of filler. And then I want to darken some of that up with just some olive green maybe. Because it's all in here where there's so much dark. You know, you would expect a good bit of shadow. And I don't mind the white. I don't mind bits of white there at all. And just kind of overlapping still again, some of these leaves, a little more detail. And adding some little veins here and there. I did that with some already, but not all of them. And I don't do it to all of them, but I mean, not everything that needs it necessarily have I done. So yeah, just get a little more in there. The way that can really perk up. Now, I'm regretting that because now we have two same over here, and I'm not a fan of that. Okay, that kind of helped that. And how about a couple of leaves for this sunflower? Maybe not. Maybe not. Yeah, I actually think I'm quite happy with this. Pretty much as it is. Okay, so I think this is pretty much done. I'm going to add these little yellow dots to the center. I like to have a little shadow under here and a little more here. And I did, you know, I kind of dragged some of my pigment with my brush, and so I had a little bit of that, but maybe not as much as I wanted. You can kind of soften it if you like. And I might even put a little more shadow over here. So what I'm doing right now is just wetting that so that I can take this pigment, and I don't want to really darken too much of my teacup there. So okay, what fun. This was so fun today. Hey, listen, thanks for hanging in there with me. I know it got kind of quiet there for bits, so I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you paint it along, or that you'll save it and paint it later. I'd love it if you would get in touch with me on Instagram. You can DM me, show me your work, what you create. You can also leave a comment here. Let me know if you painted it, and or what you did differently or the same, or anything you have to say about it. I'd love to hear it. So thanks again, and as always, happy painting.